Hey, Florida History Hunter, and we are back again. We're continuing our exploration of the Riverfront Park in DeBary, Florida, and we are exploring the old Midden out here. I think I'm wanting to put my gloves on here. If I have them, or did I leave them sitting on the hood of the car? Negative. Oh wow, that's really good. Oh, water's refreshing. I'm gonna have to remember that refilling station and utilize that sucker. Alright, so let's go squeeze our way back in here carefully, because I see where there's been a lot of burrowing going on. Let's see if we can't find some kind of artifact. You know, like I was explaining, that the shell, bone fragments, human remains, broken tools, broken pottery. You just never know what's going to appear or surface in these middens. Yeah, so far I haven't seen anything other than the periwinkle shells. I mean, there's enough burrowing going on that something has to have been pushed up. I mean, it just has to be something out here. It'd be nice to find a nice piece of shell jewelry, or a nice broad point, or even just a small fragment of pottery laying on the surface. I get excited even with the smallest finds. And there's been many trips out where, you know, Father's Day, I found a nice handful of fragments and I was giving them away. I ran into a family enjoying Father's Day fishing and gave them a little bit of a history lesson, and then gave the two young boys a small handful of pottery. And I told them that this is really, really old. I mean, it's older than your grandparents, like thousands of years old. And I saw that twinkle. I saw the twinkle in the eye of one of the young men. And I could see that I lit a fire in his mind. And, you know, he may grow up to be an explorer. And so what I like to tell people is, when you learn things as you go through your life and you discover things, share that information. You know, shout it out to the world. Talk to people as you're walking by and say, hey, is this cool or what? Because you never know what momentary interaction with another person is going to do. You don't know the ramifications of that. You may never see that person ever again in your life, but you never know how you're going to touch that person, change that person. So I make my own rule, and I stick to it diligently. Share that knowledge, because knowledge that is not shared is knowledge that is lost. You know, once you kick the bucket, it's not like they can take the hard drive out of that computer box and plug it into another computer and get that information on it. So always take the time out to talk to people, acknowledge people, and keep the knowledge ball growing and growing and growing. And through that, we gain unity. We also gain an understanding of where we've come from and to where we're going. Now this is sad here that we're in a park and it's completely filled with garbage down here. Look, right here we have somebody's purse, a rusty aerosol can, I'm guessing probably somebody stole the purse and stripped it clean and dumped it out here. But it's kind of, oh man, there's all kind here. There's an old innerspring mattress. This is disgusting. This is totally disgusting. This should not be happening. Look at that. This Midden is going all the way around in an arc right there like that. But to see garbage and trash in a park, a maintained city park, you know, there's broken bottles, beer cans, aerosol cans. There's the butt end of a gallon jug. There's a, look at this here, here's a plastic bottle of, I don't know if it's fingernail polish remover or if it possibly could be an extract or something. You know, I could see if this was off the beaten path, inaccessible spot in the park, but look, it's right in the middle of one of the frisbee holes or baskets, or to whichever they refer to that as. And so this is definitely disgusting. I'm definitely going to reach out to the city here and make it known that they need to get off the lawnmower and pick this crap up. You know, it's not like people haven't seen this. I mean, if people come here every day and play frisbee every day, there's the hole. You can definitely see the garbage pile, 5-gallon buckets, just a whole bunch of crapola. There's an old dead fallen live oak tree, and you can see that live oak is a very dense tree. Look, there's even railroad ties and crap out here. What the hey-ho. Nope, this is disgusting. There's another live oak right here, and you can see the how the roots are all going this way on this particular one. And we're on the Midden. Now here I'm starting to see some other freshwater mollusk shell, and the St. Johns River has freshwater clam in it and some other sea shell creatures living in it. So they did eat those too. And they also ate game and fish. But for sure, without reservation, escargot. Yes, I will have some escargot and a side of quail eggs, please. Right here what this is. Now these are some larger snail, but I don't believe them to be periwinkle because I've never seen them that big, but they may be. Now these could be ancient snail shell, but let's find a nice clean periwinkle and actually look at it, and we can see that this is a totally different shell. This one's flat spiral. Periwinkle shells have a pointed spiral. You see the difference there. So these are not periwinkle. These may be young apple snail. Apple snail is another native snail to this area. There's actually a bird that prefers these snails. And of course, the raccoons also eat them, and people ate them too. Here's a fallen tree, but it still looks like it may still be alive. And sometimes when the tree uproots, it brings fragments of artifacts to the surface. I need to be more careful before I kneel down. I did not bring my walking stick. By habit, I always touch the whole area around where I'm going to kneel down because of the pygmy rattler. Was an avid photographer doing wildlife photography many years, and I specialized in entomology stuff, which is insects, super close up. And I've had some times where I would kneel down and take a photograph like that and be looking at that because I got the camera to my eye, and have a pygmy rattler sitting right there in front of my knee, that close, and be like, oh, very carefully back up. I've never had an aggressive snake. I've been blessed where I've never been attacked. And you see, this here is ancient shell. You can see it's stuffed with periwinkle shell. But I'm not going to swear that it's in the family of apple snail. Until I can find an apple snail shell, and then we can put the two of them side by side and study the spiral. And interestingly enough, I believe they all spiral the same way. Yeah, they spiral this direction. Counterclockwise spiral. Now, Leonardo da Vinci studied that spiral. It's an important building block for nature. I forget what that spiral is exactly called. The name's eluding me at the moment. There's a specific name for that spiral design. So we're going to hold on to this shell for a minute and see if we can't find a apple snail shell to compare this to. And apple snail shells are usually much larger than this. But if it was a younger one, it may be a younger apple snail. I hear a hawk in the background. It's another thing find very pleasurable about my hobby as a retiree. You know, a lot of people, you want to either go to the bar or go out to the golf course. Man, I get excited as soon as I can get up and I'm able to move during the day and get out and get out to nature, because it's all about, for me, it's all about nature. You know, getting back to our roots, getting back to where we're all going to eventually end up back here somehow or another. Look at this old planking right here. Oh, there's a whole pile of old planking right here. I mean, this is some old board, like ancient old board. You know, like, look at this stuff. I bet you this wood's 100 years old or more. And look at this. Look at the size of that sucker. I mean, that's a 12 by 12 by 16 feet. And you can see it may have floated in. This may be part of an old bridge that broke and got pushed up in here during a hurricane. There may have been a wood bridge crossing out here. Or it may be when they modernized the old bridge across the river, that they when they made the metal bridge, that they dumped the old bridge back here in the woods, like a lot of state Department of Transportations are notorious for doing. Now right there we have a different kind of shell again. It's sort of in the shape of a conch. And so this, I can almost guarantee, probably after it was consumed, was some kind of tool. Because remember I said that they didn't have metals back then. The tools were stone and shells. And the larger shells like this are called whelks. And they would punch 2 holes in a whelk and put a wood handle on it. And then the whelk could be used as a club, or it could be modified and used as a, you know, digging trenching tool into the earth. And some shells were used, you know, as scrapers. And then they also, you know, like, use native rock and stuff, you know, for scrapers too. This is the kind of stuff that snakes love to be hiding out in. Yeah. Another nice little bit of information. Okay, here we go, right here. Right here is an apple snail. And you can see it's got the same to the left spiral. And that's not ancient. And we're going to take a stop right here. And we're going to visit this little bubba right here. And this right here is a box turtle. And we're just going to look at them real close for a moment. But please do not pick these kind of creatures up. Don't take them home. If you take a box turtle away from its home, it'll make them go insane. Seriously. They'll spend their entire life trying to, if they're in an enclosed area, going around in circles and circles, trying to get their way back home. And if they're trapped, they're never going to find their way back home. And that would be a miserable life. Horrible, horrible, horrible thing to do. So, look, take pictures, and leave. Alright, my friends, we're back. Florida History Hunter, DeLand Diggs. We're still in DeBary. We're still exploring the Frisbee Park. And we're exploring the Midden. Welcome back. I hope everybody's having a fantastic day. It's very unusual having this much debris and not finding anything at all. But, you know, like I said earlier, it's hard to see something that's the same color as everything else. And, you know, the potteries are in the browns and grays and mild yellows and mild red colors. And everything down there comes out of that palette. Everything we're looking at is in that palette range. So I could be looking at something right now and not even see it. But we're gonna keep looking. Sometimes if you come out after a good rain, it makes this stuff a little more visible. Doesn't seem to be really looking that way today. Another thing is there's so much organic debris on the ground. This stuff's just buried on the leaves a lot of times. I'm gonna go around here a little bit. Come around this way a little. Maybe it's going to be something else. We're starting to head closer and closer to the lake also. And I've always seen them go parallel to a lake. And this is the first time I've ever seen a midden curving perpendicular. So it should be interesting. And let's hope that maybe we can get right up close to the water. I don't know what these markers are. There seem to be a lot of things staked into the ground with flags on them. I don't know exactly what that has to do with. I bet that's styrofoam. Yep. Somebody's ringing and dinging me here. Give me a moment, my friend. Take a quick look at who's trying to hit me up here. Here's that coquina style, and yikes, it's full of ants. So we're gonna drop that sucker immediately. But this becomes a concretion over thousands of years as the shell starts dissolving and interaction of moisture and all, and it becomes like a cement. Now I notice also, you can see out here, that tree line, that whole tree line is all midden. And I'm going to go way out on the edge, and I'm going to guess that if there was a burial site, it would be right here. because that would have been a low-lying swamp area for a long, long time. This is always fun. Sometimes you find these bottles and stuff laying on the ground, and they're little ecosystems, little terrariums. So I'll be 100% sure, just judging how this area in front of me, it's all cypress trees and cypress knees. You know, it's all ebb and flow of the tidal changes. And then up there was a little higher ground because of the oak hammock. And I'm willing to bet this whole basin right here, they would have come in from the river, which is right through these trees, and paddle right up into this area, around like that. And I am convinced that out in here, oh man, I thought I found a piece of pottery, and what is it? It's a coconut shell. That would have been so killer to find an intact piece of pottery. So we're gonna just stand right here and look out there. Yeah, see, this is all swamp and bog. It's really sticky wet out there still. So in my mind's eye, that would be a burial area, and so we're gonna sign on line a little later today, and we're gonna bring up the LiDAR map, and we're gonna check this area out in LiDAR and see what secrets lie below the surface. What's this right here? This is a 4/5 of a quart. I'm guessing 1930s or 1940s. I have actually found arrow heads that were made out of this stuff, and really it's not very strong. As you can see, it will break, but back then they had to use whatever's available, and you know, there's a lot of experimentation, I'm sure. And I would surmise also that because of the rarity of certain stones and stuff, you're not going to give somebody a piece of stone to teach them how to work with it. You know, you're going to give them a more common material and let them practice with it. And when you see they're getting good enough, then you give them a real piece of rock, so, you know, to start flaking. And that's what they would do. They would take a harder piece of rock and flake off chips. Now, this is kind of suspicious looking right here. This right here. There's something going on here, because this has been hand bore. I can see the chipping and stuff. What it was, I don't know, and it's just filled with ants right now, so I don't even want to pick it up and try to flip it out of there. But there's an artifact right there that's definitely been chipped. It hasn't been drilled out. That's been chipped out, and it does not go all the way to the bottom. So that could be a small mortar. I want to flip it over. I do. These ants travel fast. They can be all the way over to here by now. Look. That ain't gonna flip anything over. There we go, this will flip it over. There we go. Look at that. Look at that. How cool is that? That's been hand ground out using rock. That's very cool. Alright, I'm gonna do a screenshot or two so I can report this to the state of Florida. Get that flash on. One more minute, people. Please bear with me. There we go. Oh. Trying to touch the screen with a rubber glove. Nice. Oh. Nice, nice. Alright, so we find our first artifact. We don't know exactly what it is, but it's definitely been worked. And that's what we're looking for. Things that have been worked. Oh, that's almost the right shape, but that's natural. If that stupid rock wasn't all full of ants, I would take it to the house and put it into the collection for the next time the Florida Archaeological group passes through, and they could take it up to Tallahassee for me. This is a shell from the family of freshwater mollusks. This isn't a saltwater type of clam, freshwater type of clam. Now who knows, right here there could be a dugout canoe, right in here someplace. Because we're down off of the Midden, and we're down into the swamp. So I'm hoping that LiDAR may open up that window for me. We do live in an amazing time, you know, where for a couple decades with this satellite imaging and stuff, and many new explorers just use the computer, and they use the information out of the different storage banks from satellite imagery, and they're making discoveries all the time, especially in the rainforest and stuff like that, where they're finding pyramids and stuff in South America that they never knew existed anymore, in areas where they assumed to be just natural hills and mountains, and now they're finding out that it's actually mounds, ancient Indian mounds. That's just a beer bottle, 1986. And that's one hell of a mosquito trap. but it's also got frogs, and we're not going to disturb it because it's a stopping watering hole too for passing wildlife. And you know, this area there's going to be bobcat and deer, possum, raccoons, and such like that. And you know, raccoons like to dip their food in water. They like to wash their hands in water. Raccoons are very, very clean animals. You know, people don't realize that. And they're very social animals, and extremely trusting and curious also. You know, I've been blessed with the ability to interact up personally close with most of my wildlife encounters. A lot of people are kind of like shocked that, be like, dude, how is it you can walk up and you got raccoons walking up to you and smelling your hand and kissing you and licking you and stuff? I said, well, that's a gift. You know, I've been blessed with that gift. And so this is kind of cool. I'm sure it's a possibly an old cypress knee. Kind of looks like an old cypress knee, see? But we need to look at it too, because I did find something that looked like a cypress knee that turned out to be a couple thousand years old and was hand planed into some kind of very bizarre, still yet unidentified object. And that's cool too. I've actually found two pieces recently that were wood from the same site as the 1,725-year-old mortar that are unidentified. You know, there's question marks, and the debate's still open as they're just trying to surmise what they are, because they had never seen any artifacts like a few of them that I found. I found some very weird dense pieces of wood like this that are I mean dense, and they're like perfect club shape and knobby and bumpy looking. And I took one and kind of like swung it around. It was just amazingly fluid and very little effort to thump and clunk on things, and it would definitely crack a noggin wide open. I mean, not even a very powerful, you know, maybe just coming up like this and coming down, like just from that you could crack somebody's skull with the one piece that I found.